Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 1, Wedge. Under the Kunlun Mountains. The gloomy underground palace is endless, and the only light source is the billions of stars venting from the huge crack above. Dozens of ancient bronze pillars with a height of 100 meters stand in this vast void, like the tombstones of peerless powerful men, straight into the sky. 79, 80, 81. Sure enough, it is 81 miles in the universe. It starts with 1 and ends with 10. The cycle is endless, without borders, and the sequence is not chaotic. On a copper pillar, there was a person standing silently with a star on his back. He couldn't see his face clearly, but he saw his eyes twinkling as he scanned the dim ancient hall. In the vented starlight, the appearance of the underground palace is vaguely visible, like the formation of sacrifices to the heavens of ancient emperors. There are 81 ancient bronze pillars outside, staggered all around. On each ancient bronze pillar, there are iron chains like a python gathering in the middle, going straight into a misty void. The inside is stretched out by the cross-fish thread, and there are occasionally 4 sun patterns, corresponding to the 8 directions of Qian, Dui, Li, Zhen, Sun, Kan, Zhen, and Kuan. The underground palace was cold, and the cold air followed the copper pillars. The figure on the copper pillar raised his hand to pinch the tactics to dispel the cold air, but could not dispel the loneliness hidden in those eyes. Suddenly the man's face changed slightly, and a burning sensation spread from his left shoulder, like the fire of hell, burning all over his body. A fire cloud mark pierced through the left shoulder, revealing a blood-like red glow. Have you sensed it too? Yang Qingxian laughed at himself, somewhat desolate. This mark appeared when he was 6 years old, and accompanied him for 24 years. From being unfamiliar to being famous, he was born to death, aspiring to the great master of Chinese martial arts. This mark brought him supreme glory and power, but it also swallowed his body like a devil. This underground palace is hidden under the Kunlun Mountains. Is it my fateful place? Yang Qingxian coughed in excitement, and a sickly blush appeared on his face. Great master for 30 years, I don't know who is in my dream. It's ridiculous, extremely ridiculous. As the mood fluctuated, the power of the imprint burned his limbs and corpses wildly, and Yang Qingxian frowned in pain. Success and defeat. This is my last chance. I must find my own life experience and find the answer to this mark. He sighed, ran wildly on the chain, and swept into the inner formation with a few breaths. Over the years, he even had a conjecture, as if this body was never his own. With the appearance of the underground palace in the dream, this feeling became stronger. Suddenly his footsteps stagnated. Because he stopped too quickly, his true energy poured into his feet, and the iron rope clanged. Yang Qingxuan's pupils suddenly zoomed in and saw an unforgettable scene in this life. The inner formation is vast, as if being in another space. On the ground like a plane, hundreds of millions of huge monsters were pierced by iron cables, locked in the center of the inner formation, crawling on the ground. The place where 10,000 beasts worshipped was a huge beast with a height of 100 meters, with his hands resting in front of him, his weathered eyes, looking at the surging sky of ink clouds, empty and godless. Yang Qingxuan's body stiffened for a while, and he recovered after a few minutes. This battle is too terrifying, all the monsters have been added to death, like a ritual sacrifice. He turned to fight for 3,000 miles, one sword once blocked 1,000,000 soldiers and stepped through the green hills and red cliffs, but has he ever seen such a strange and terrifying scene? Yang Qingxuan's gaze fell in front of the monster, his gaze stagnated. In the palm of the monster, holding a silver compass, it was beautifully shining with silver light. Yang Qingxian moved slightly in his heart, stepped on the void, fell on the palm of the monster in a few steps, and looked carefully. The compass is lustrous and transparent, with complicated formations portrayed on the outside and on the inside, with dots of silver light in it, ethereal and beautiful. Against the backdrop of the jet-black tray, the shattered silver in the tray was even more radiant. The most shocking thing is that the silver-white dots are not embellished, but are directly projected from the compass under the influence of the heavens and stars. Yang Qingxian was lost for a while, staring at the billions of galaxies in the compass, thinking inexplicably. A noun suddenly appeared in his mind, and blurted out, Xinyu Pan. Before seeing this thing, I had never heard of the word Xinyu Pan. Shocked in Yang Qingshuan's heart, he lifted his hand up like a lost soul, and gently touched the Xingyu plate. A cold feeling passed into his hand. Suddenly, there was a sharp pain in the left shoulder, as if the soul had been pulled out of the body. Behind Yang Qingxian, there was a ray of light rushing straight up, turning into purple awns and spreading out, and the big sun was like a wheel, radiating anger. The body of the billions of giant beasts shattered under the purple clouds, turned into dust and dispersed. Yang Qingshuan's complexion was pale, and the power of the imprint finally got out of control, and the rays of the sun drew the stars, lowered the Brahma thunder fire, and hit him. In an instant, the Milky Way shone and sparks spread in the underground palace. In this world-destroying power, a tall phantom loomed, not discerning his face, but standing arrogantly in the world, looking up at the stars. On this day, the Kunlun ruins rocks collapsed, shaking the sky and the earth. Above the cloud on the top of the mountain, a silver beam of light rose into the sky, straight into the Hongmeng universe. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 2, I have dreams. It's so stupid, I have to resist every time, get beaten every time, so cheap. Unexpectedly, being a garbage worker can make money like this. Is there any reason? The more his grandfather who is a garbage worker earns, the more we grab. This fool is going to be fired today, and the money to honor us will be gone in the future. The three teenagers were holding the silver coins they had just snatched in their hands, and speaking with spit. Shui Hao grumbled and cursed, this silly lack is so unbelievable, and it has broken the way for Laozi's money. On the ground not far away from the three of them, lies a 15 or 6-year-old boy, dressed in embarrassed clothes and dusty, but with a beautiful appearance and a clean appearance. The young man swept away the dull and turbid gaze of the past, and his brows turned into a clear light. Looking at the universe, the blue waves are vast, and the heart is turning up. This is my body. There was a long sigh in his heart, and his eyes flashed with maturity and vicissitudes beyond his age. At the moment, Yang Qingxian, who came from the earth, was inside the boy. After disappearing from the ancient bronze formation, consciousness, or soul, has been integrated into this body, like a wandering man returning home and a flying bird returning to the nest. If Yang Qingxian of the great master of China is the main soul, then the original body is only the remnant soul of Yang Qingxian. At this moment, the two souls are one, and they are perfect after all. Afterwards, everything came in, and the memories from the remnant soul poured into Yang Qingshuan's mind intermittently, and he had a vague understanding of himself and the world. I am a student of Tian Tsong College. There is a grandfather named Yang Zhao who works as a cleaner at the college for his education. Today is the academy's annual assessment. On the way back to the academy, I met Shui Hao and 3 people and took away their living expenses. Fool, my uncle is in a bad mood today, learn a few dog barkings for amusement, and let you go if you bark like this. This fool doesn't have enough IQ, he should be a dog to bark. Yang Qingxian was sorting out his thoughts, and he heard the 3 people's mocking and insulting, which was extremely bad. Mom, sirs are talking to you, don't lie on the ground and play dead. Shui Hao aimed at Yang Qingshuan's head and kicked it. Seeing the sharp footwork, Yang Qingxian immediately sat up, avoiding that foot. Shui Hao was stunned, thinking it was a coincidence, and walking forward cursingly, I kicked you, so dare you hide. He flew again. Yang Qingxian suddenly turned around, and between the opening and closing of his eyes, a cold color flashed, and said, Is your mother seeking death? Shui Hao was stared at by his gaze, and his heart trembled inexplicably, and a trace of fear was born, and he subconsciously asked, What do you mean? It means, are you looking for death? When the voice fell, Yang Qingshuan's face sank, his fingers lightly tapped, and a cyclone hovered in his palm. The seemingly inattentive finger is an extremely powerful, faultless finger, in Chinese martial arts. At this moment, his 2 souls are united, his body is full of energy, and his body is full of endless power. There are phases and no phases, condensed into reality, like poking tofu, easily poke into Shui Hao's calf, and burst a blood hole with a pop. Ah! It hurts. The scream shook the birds and the leaves. Shui Hao's face was pale, his eyes stared like a dead fish, and he looked at his calf in disbelief. Yang Qingxian pointed to the place where there was a baby's fist in the blood hole, and the blood gurgled down, and it instantly stained the ground. He was a little confused, unable to react. Zhou Tsang and Hu Ding were also confused for a while, and yelled, "Fool, what are you doing?" After all, one person turned his palm with one hand, and one person condensed his fingers with his right hand, attacking from the left and right sides. In their eyes, Yang Qingxian should be the lowest level of trash, allowing them to bully and squeeze. This has been the case for 3 years, and it should continue to be the case in the future. They discriminate against Yang Qingxian from the bottom up, and discriminate against the weak. However, this kind of weak and small in their eyes, like rubbish, dared to resist at this moment, making the two of them angry into anger, and suddenly the killer. After Yang Qingxuan's move, he stood still, and the past came to mind. The law of the world respects the strong, and the weak is like an ant, like a chopping board, to be slaughtered and abused. You are a descendant of the Yang family. Even if Grandpa does everything he can, he must train you to become a real warrior. Yang Zhao was full of expectation, but in those deep eyes, there was an undetectable melancholy and sadness. The young Yang Qingxian could not understand the sadness, but he could see the grey temples, the bleak body on the ancient road, condensed into a rickety back in the cold wind. This back is as heavy as a mountain, lingering in his mind, constantly whipping him forward. In his mind, perhaps he didn't understand the cruel world laws, and he never thought about getting ahead. Just with a small obsession, no matter what kind of penance, patience, ridicule, bullying, helplessness, depression, pain, and hesitation, I never gave up. For 15 years, scorching heat and cold, spring passed and autumn came. Because I have dreams. I want to become a real warrior. The dream seed buried deep in my heart finally broke out with the return of the main soul, and began to take root. When his thoughts came back, Yang Qingxian slowly closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, there was a faint light in the corner of his eyes, and a fierce murderous intent shot from his eyes. He casually flicked the crown of his clothes to shake off the dust on it. The white robe danced without wind, swinging in front of him like running water. Hu Ding and Zhou Tsang trembled in their hearts at the same time, and an ominous premonition surged in their hearts. Their hands increased a little more vigor, and they shouted, "Fool, do you dare to resist? It's time to collect." Yang Qingxuan's face was cold, and a move, Pingsha Luoyan, flew under Xuehao's crotch, and a bang, crackling sounded. Xuehao let out a scream, his face turned purple, and his whole body was shot out. Hu Ding and Zhou Tsang attacked immediately, roaring again and again, "Fool, you dare." Yang Qingxian sneered at the corner of his mouth, and drew a circle in front of him with his calm hands. The wind moves when the two palms dance, forming a circle of air curtain in front of him, making a whistling sound, expanding continuously. Kan Long has regrets. The fallen leaves all over the ground rose with the cyclone, floating in the void like a dragon. Yang Qingxuan's face is clear and handsome, standing in the chaotic rain of flowers, like a soldier. In the Chinese Empire, the martial arts are prosperous, and there are 18 qi powers in the dragon palm method. The qi waves are like the sea, and the waves are like the mountains and emerald, endless. Yang Qingxian has been immersed in this palm for more than 10 years. The true essence in the body circulates endlessly in the meridians, like a river rushing, never ending. Even the steel warriors on the earth, genetically strengthened people, will be wiped out in this palm. The perfect unity of body and soul will bring the power of this palm to its extreme, and there will be a pop sound of bones in the body. All the meridian blockages are instantly opened up, and the vitality is like mushrooms after the rain, rising steadily. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 3, King Kong Grows. Yang Qingxian was unspeakably comfortable and cozy, and eagerly raised his head to the sky. The howling sounded like a bell and drum, shook the clouds on the 9 days. He was extremely excited. Hu Ding and Zhou Tsang were miserable, and they were like ashes under the palm of the dragon. The two teamed up and barely blocked the first 7 waves of air, and finally in the 8th, the true essence was broken and flew out. Boom! The wind sounded like a dragon, penetrating through, and a big earthquake trembled. They saw the two flying upside down like a kite with a broken wire, leaving 2 traces of bright red splashing in the air. Whether it was a coincidence or Yang Qingxuan's precise control, both fell to Xuehao's side, vomiting blood. This fool, when is this fool so powerful? No, don't kill us, oh. Egg, my egg, it's over, it's all over. Zhou Tsang and the three people kept struggling backwards, their minds were completely blank, they didn't understand what was going on. Looking at Yang Qingxian at this moment, there was only a huge fear in their hearts. At this moment, Yang Qingxian was reborn and pierced through Changhong. As he stepped closer, the enchanting coercion became more and more clear. The great master of Chinese martial arts, admired by all nations, naturally reveals a master temperament, which is different from the stupid appearance before. Xue Hao even clutched his crotch, crying bitterly, "It's over, it's over." After Yang Qingxian screamed with a palm, the slumped chest opened, and the whole person was refreshed. The true essence in his body was like a dragon and an elephant. After a while, he slowly calmed down. He thought to himself, these three are just the most ordinary students of Tian Tsong Academy. They can actually block the 7 waves of the dragon's palm. This world is probably far more terrifying than the earth. After cultivating to the extreme on the earth, you can clearly feel the pressure of heaven and earth, which prevents you from moving forward, and this world. He looked up at the sky was deep and wide, and he said in ecstasy, "I can't feel the shackles at all." The true qi in the body is surging like a dragon and an elephant, which is a sign of the great consummation of the world's 10th level qi and martial arts. The pinnacle on the earth is just the complete consummation of qi wu in this world. And the 10th level of qi wu is not even an entry. Yang Qingxian clarified the memory in his mind, the Qi Wu state is only the stage of the martial artist, and the real martial artist has 3 states, Ling Wu state, Zhen Wu state, and Original Wu state. Each major state is divided into 4 levels, elementary, intermediate, advanced, and Dzogchen. After 10 levels of Qi martial arts, you can refine the Qi transforming seal, condense martial souls, step into the spirit martial arts, and become a real martial artist. Hey, this is really an interesting world. Grandpa, not only do I want to be a real warrior, but I also want to be a man standing on top of this martial arts world. Yang Qingxian said secretly in his heart. At this moment, the blood was warm, and he suppressed the excitement in his heart. After a long laugh, he walked to the 3 people and said, "3 uncles, how good are you playing?" The gaze was like 10,000 years of ice, passing over the 3 of them one by one, making the 3 of them silent. In the past 3 years, the 3 borrowed a total of 1,080 silver coins from me, calculated at a monthly interest rate of 10%, Ligunli, Lijiali, so far, the total is about 9,871. A silver coin, is it time to pay me back? 9 or 9,000 silver coins. How to calculate it, isn't it over 1,000? Zhou Tsang was startled by the number, and he was immediately dumbfounded. The next moment, he just felt his eyes sway, and he slapped his right cheek with a slap in the face, vomiting all of his teeth and blood. Then another Shu shadow passed by, and Zhou Tsang's head was severely stepped into the soil. Bang! 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 Yang Qingxian slammed half of Zhou Tsang's head into the soil with a few heavy steps. Ligunli, wouldn't it count? What kind of ghost books I read, I only know how to blackmail my classmates every day. As the great master of the Chinese nation, he has fought countlessly with various forces, and it is natural to deal with this kind of campus humiliation. And this kind of gangster knows that he is cruel at first glance, and even the living expenses of the stupid person are robbed, where is the slightest kind of heart? To deal with these college rubbish, we must use diamond means to control evil with violence. The Bodhisattva lowered his eyebrows for the 6 ways of compassion, and the King Kong was angry, so he surrendered to the 4 monsters. Are you going to kill him? Xue Hao and Hu Ding were frightened, and Xue Hao had forgotten the broken egg. Both of them felt like dreaming. Kill. How could it be possible? Yang Qingxian rubbed his hands and smiled, "You owe me so much money, how can I be willing to die?" After finishing speaking, he stomped on the ground with a bang, and the mud blew up. Zhou Tsang flew up, throwing a few meters away, his head was as swollen as a watermelon, and he probably wouldn't recognize it anymore. Xue Hao and Hu Ding were completely shocked, their mouths opened wide in fright, and Lucian had no master. Yang Qingxuan's gaze fell on the 2 of them, and said coldly, will you do arithmetic? Yes, I will. The two of them were silent, their heads lighted like a chicken pecking at rice. Yang Qingxian said, then how much do you owe me? 9,871 silver coins. Xue Hao quickly reported it, and he was quite sure. Yang Qingxian nodded and said, well, how comes so much money, isn't it more than 1,000 silver coins? Are you sure you are right? No, no. Nothing wrong. Xue Hao grabbed his fingers and counted, and said firmly, Li Jiuli, Li Gunli, a lot more than this number. Only then did Yang Qingxian show satisfaction and walked forward, tearing Xue Hao's white clothes with a magnetic sound. Xue Hao's face turned green at once, and he trembled. You want to me? Boom! Yang Qingxuan's face was full of black lines, and a bitter cold rolled in his stomach. He punched him in the face and directly knocked out his facial features. He shouted, dare to disgust me, believe it or not I will kill you. He tore another piece of long cloth, directly dipped the blood on Xue Hao's face, and wrote on the long white cloth, with vigorous and powerful brushwork, he was actually writing I owe you. After you have written it, come over to draw and sign. Wherever the three dared to resist, they all trembled, and they pressed their fingerprints without even looking. Yang Qingxian put away the IOU and educates the three of them. I will study hard in the future and stop bullying my classmates, you know. I know, I know. You must love each other with your classmates, learn 5 stresses, 4 beauties and 3 warmths. In the future, you must be a useful person to the society, serve the motherland, and serve the people of Cangnan, understand? Understand, understand. We must love each other, study hard, be civil and polite, and be useful to society in the future. The three of them nodded steadily, their faces all over with firm expressions, but their heads were swollen like pigs' heads, and they no longer knew each other. Yang Qingxian said with satisfaction, okay, I will be educating here today. It is everyone's responsibility to change the social atmosphere and improve the connotation of young people. I have to rush to the college for the assessment, and then I will find that you are blackmailing classmates. Break your bones. Yes, there will never be a next time, absolutely not. The three of them were crying and swearing desperately, scrambling to make sure. Only then did Yang Qingxian take a step forward, and in a blink of an eye he swept 1,000 feet away and flew towards the academy. A lot of time was wasted by the three people. If you missed the college assessment, the trouble would be big. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 4, Beautiful as a Moon. Tian Song College is located at the foot of Shenin Mountain near Baishui City, the imperial capital of the Cangnan Kingdom. It occupies a vast area and almost forms a city of its own. The place for class assessment is a martial arts field in the college. Look, the fool is here. It's Yang Qingxuan's stupid lack. I thought he would abandon the exam. He really dared to come. Is he here to make fun of us? Don't say that, people will soon be celebrities in the history of the academy. The 6th person to be expelled as a waste in history, this can also be recorded in history. I really gave our squad leader face. I am embarrassed to say that I am in the 3rd squad. Yang Qingxian walked on the path of the academy, and ridicule came from time to time. With his temperament at the moment, he would naturally not take it seriously. Yang Qingxian doesn't care whether he can stay in the college. Martial arts practice is all about perseverance, talent and character. Although he only had the cultivation base of the great perfection in the Qi martial realm, he was a man who stood at the pinnacle of the Earth's martial arts. Only because he was suppressed by the rules of the Earth's world, he could not go further. Perseverance, talent and temperament are unmatched. But staying in the academy and becoming a real warrior is the long-cherished wish of grandfather Yang Zhao. An academy cleaner who can make a dumb boy stay in the top university in the 5 northern kingdoms of the Xuanya continent will inevitably pay an unimaginable price for ordinary people. So, I must pass the assessment and stay smoothly. Turning a blind eye to all the ridicule, Yang Qingxuan's eyes were calm as water, and he walked to the place of assessment. Almost all the people who participated in the test were talking in groups, but he was the only one standing there alone. The weak not only have no status, but also no friends. Qin Zhen, the teacher in class 3, glanced at him, but nodded slightly, giving an encouraging wink. There is a warm current in Yang Qingxuan's heart. For 3 years, he has been dragging the class back, but Qin Zhen has never given up on him. Look, Wu Qiyu is here. Suddenly there was a commotion in the class, and the 3 words, Wu Qiyu, seemed to have a kind of magic, attracting everyone's attention. Oh my God, it's really Wu Qiyu, why did she come? Is it to come to see us for assessment? No. She is the elite of the inner courtyard, the top of the 4 beauties, how can she waste time to come and see us for the assessment? Yang Qingxian also followed everyone's gaze, and saw an extraordinary graceful step coming. The woman with pink face and peach cheeks is pretty and beautiful. Although her face is slightly cool, her red shirt is like a fire, and the whole person is like a blooming man's hushawa. There is a unique style in the fierceness. Yang Qingxian was greatly surprised that there are such beautiful women in the world, who are like heavenly beings compared with the powdered women on the earth. Everywhere Wu Qiyu passed, she voluntarily gave way. Everyone was overwhelmed by her temperament, and she immediately started talking. Could it be to see that Yang Qingxian, that fool, was fired? It's really possible for you to say that. After all, the 6th place in the history of the academy is a big event. It would be worthwhile for Wu Qiyu to come and watch it in person. This fool was expelled. The harsh voice is endless, although Yang Qingxian is angry in his heart, it doesn't show up on his face. Qiyu, could it be that you came to see a fool who was expelled? I heard that there was a fool in these ordinary classes who failed to pass the exam for 2 consecutive years. If he failed the 3rd year, he would be expelled. Rare. On his side, there was a young man in white clothes walking side by side with a sword, carrying a sword. This man was handsome, with sword eyebrows flying diagonally into the temple, looking very energetic. Between the outside and inside, there is nobleness and elegance. It's Hua Heng, so handsome. Suddenly a girl screamed, her eyes turned into 2 red hearts, and the idiot said, the Qianlong ranked 5th, second only to the powerful master of the 4 kings. The family is prominent, the future is boundless, and handsome, if he is how nice my boyfriend is. As soon as the white-clothed boy appeared, the girls all screamed. Many girls hurriedly took out the powder box to touch up their makeup. But Hua Heng turned a blind eye, and stood beside Wu Qiyu with a graceful smile, like a flower protector. Wu Qiyu had a cold expression on her face and said, any student is our classmate. I hope you don't speak filthy words. Also, it doesn't matter where I go, please don't follow me. The extraordinary demeanor immediately drew a crowd of boys into imitation, and one after another exclaimed, with such a temperament, you can become a goddess. Hua Heng smiled slightly and didn't get angry. He seemed to be accustomed to it, and said, what kind of classmates are these ordinary class things? One by one, I am afraid that someone who does not have long eyes will bump into you. His eyes swept across the crowd, full of arrogance, that kind of arrogant arrogance, as if no one could see him, even Qin Zhen was not in his eyes. The students around were all in an uproar, and everyone glared. Many people murmured in a low voice, but did not dare to shout out loudly. Hua Heng is not only amazing in strength, but at the same time he has a prominent family background, which is not something they can afford. This guy, oh no, it's a classmate, please let me. The students in class 3 had already given way, and only Yang Qingxian was left, standing there seemingly dull, just blocking Wu Qiyu and Hua Heng. Yang Qingxian was looking at Wu Qiyu, her eyes facing each other, both of them were slightly surprised, ripples swayed. Yang Qingxian was surprised by the beauty and temperament of the other party. In the exquisite beauty, there was a very strong breath that even made him feel dangerous. But Wu Qiyue's eyes flashed with different colors, and there seemed to be a trace of excitement and anticipation. Classmate! Didn't you hear what this young master said? Seeing that Yang Qingxian was unmoved, Hua Heng stared at Wu Qiyu unscrupulously, and an unknown anger suddenly rose in his heart. The road is wide. Yang Qingxian spit out 3 words faintly, as if it would be a waste to say one more word to people like him. Hua Heng was stunned, no one had ever dared to talk to him with this attitude. The students in the entire 3rd class were also stunned. Although they all looked down on Yang Qingxian, they couldn't help but delight in seeing Hua Heng deflated at this moment. But some people sneered and said, "The fool is indeed a fool, and he dares to offend Zhuaheng. This is dead." After a while, Zhuaheng said, "Are you Yang Qingxian, the sixth fool in the history of the academy to be expelled?" Yang Qingxian squinted at him and said coldly, "Ershou is sick." Zhuaheng was unclear, so he frowned and said, "What do you mean?" Yang Qingxian said, "Are you sick in your brain?" Ha ha ha. The classmates around didn't understand it. When Yang Qingxian explained, he burst into laughter. Court death. Zhuaheng was furious. He had never been teased like this before, and wanted to kill if he didn't agree with him. The fierce aura shot from the brocade robe, as if a sharp sword was about to be unsheathed in an instant. Yang Qingxuan's face suddenly changed, and he was about to make a move to meet the enemy, but the momentum faded and disappeared. I saw Wu Qiuyue did not know when she moved her position, she just took a small step forward and actually broke Zhuaheng's fierce aura. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 5, Wu Huan Light. Zhuaheng said in shock, "Qiuyue, you." Wu Qiuyue stared at him coldly, and said, "What do you want to do?" Zhuaheng put away the killing intent in his eyes, and said, "I just want to take a shot and teach this stupid classmate who doesn't know the sky and earth." Qingjun also reacted and shouted angrily, "What are you? How can you teach my students?" The expression on Zhuaheng's face changed. Knowing that Wu Qiuyue and Qingjun had intervened, it was impossible for him to make a move, so he smiled weirdly, "Okay, let this classmate live a little longer. After he will be expelled from the academy, my master talked to him again." Yang Qingxian squinted at him, making no secret of the contempt in his eyes, as if saying, "Who is free to talk to you?" Zhuaheng's angry face turned purple, his fist bones trembled slightly, and the vulture's eyes seemed to respond, "No one can save you from heaven and earth." Yang Qingxian smiled faintly. He has seen a lot of such arrogant people all over the world, but later all became submissive. With a worried look on Qingjun's face, he said, "Yang Qingxian, you have been assessed." Yang Qingxian nodded and walked to the ring. Suddenly there was a commotion around, and a large number of students came from a distance, all from the 4th class next door, and their teacher Yu Liang. "It's a student from class 4. What are they doing here?" There was a commotion in the class, and there were a lot of conflicts between the two classes on weekdays, so they all cast hostile eyes when they knew that the visitors were not good. "Don't be nervous, everyone." Yu Liang, the teacher of class 4, laughed twice and said, "I have almost done the assessment there. Let everyone rest and take the opportunity to take the students to observe the assessment of the students in class 3. Yu Liang's gaze fell on Wu Qiuyue and Zhuaheng, and he was also quite surprised, but the strange color disappeared in a flash, and turned around and smiled. "Everyone must keep your eyes open and take a good look. The students taught by Qingjun are so amazing. Excellent. We have to recognize the gap between each other and go back to practice well after reading it, you know." "No." Loud laughter sounded from the 4th class, and countless joking eyes fell on Yang Qingxian. The students in the 3 classes were filled with righteous indignation, which was purely a shame to see them. Qingjun said with a gloomy face, "If you want to learn, let's draw down the Tao. It's like a comparison between the teacher and the teacher or the student and the student." Yu Liang smiled and said, "Miss Qingjun misunderstood. Our 4th class is purely to observe and observe with a learning attitude. Class 3 is famous in the college and has outstanding results. Maybe it will come out with an excellent result in the assessment. History records." He glanced at Yang Qingxian intentionally or unintentionally. "Huh, yes, we're just looking at the historical records." The students in class 4 burst into laughter, and all kinds of unpleasant words came into Yang Qingxuan's ears. But he was still expressionless, his eyes were as deep as the sea, without a single ripple. Qingjun was furious, but when he glanced at Yang Qingxian, he couldn't help being surprised. Seeing his calm appearance, doubts arose in his heart, and the anger disappeared. A different color flashed in Wu Qiue's beautiful eyes, and a ray of red light flashed across her eyes, condensing into an imperceptible thin circle, but then scattered. Qingjun snorted coldly, ignored it, looked at Yang Qingxian, and said, "There are 2 ways to assess. One is to hit the thunder drum with all your strength. As long as 7 thunder tones can be shaken out, it proves that the body is tyrannical. Cultivation of a master is qualified. The second is to sense this martial soul stone, which can test the potential of your martial soul. One person in class 4 cried out strangely, "The premise is you have to have the potential of Wuhuan." Ha ha ha. The rest of the people immediately followed, and the students of the 3 classes all glared. The brothers fought against the wall and resisted their insults. At the same time, they blamed Yang Qingxian for being so embarrassed and humiliated the entire class. Qingxian ignored the ridicule, and said calmly, "I know that Yang Zhao has been looking for elixir to wash your marrow through the I Ching for years, so that your vitality will slowly increase. But I don't know if I have reached Qi Gulei. At the point of the sound, you can hit with all your strength. No matter what the result is, you can also make yourself no regrets." Yang Qingxian looked around and saw a half-person high lacquered red drum on the ring, made of Laim beast skin. Shoot it with the palm of your hand, you can shake out the sound of thunder and measure your strength. The side in front of me is the lowest level thunder drum, which can test up to 10 thunder tones, but this is enough. Because of the 10 thunder sounds, it is already the standard of the yellow turban warrior. On the other side was an oval-like irregular spar, which was transparent and visible, and gentle force slowly overflowed from it. As everyone knows, there are 2 types of martial artists: those with body refiners can be powerful men, and those with chi refiners can condense martial arts spirit. When a strong man reaches the realm of a yellow turban strong man, he will be able to open mountains and crack rocks, and make him a general. But the journey of a strong man is at the end, and the path of refining the spirit of martial arts is endless. Yang Qingxian walked to the Layin drum, touched the drum's surface of the war drum, and felt a strong force coming out just by touching the palm of his hand. "Hurry up, Harp, we're still waiting to see the record." There was a loud noise from all around. Yu Yang also smiled and said, "All the students in class 4 are watching carefully. Take a look at the outstanding students taught by teacher Qingzhen." Yang Qingxian ignored the ridicule around him. After stroking the thunder drum for a while, he put down his hand and walked straight to the spirit stone. What is this fool? Does he want to test the potential of Wuhuan? Haha, he is crazy. If there is no martial soul potential before the age of 15, he will never have martial soul potential. He even hopes that he has martial soul. Oh, most of it is too nervous, dementia has committed again. Ha ha ha. Everyone was waiting to see him joke, and even many students in the 3rd class sighed. Qingzhen frowned and shouted, "Yang Qingxian." The dean had personally tested Yang Qingshuan's symptoms. It was because of his incomplete soul, which caused damage to his mind and talent. It was absolutely impossible for a martial soul to condense. Therefore, Grandpa Yang Qingxian and the dean both meant to let him go the way of a strong man. If you can cultivate to the yellow turban strong man, you can also give Ho Baixiang, the Megatron, and have your own foothold in Sangnan. Yang Qingxian said, "Teacher, I want to try." Qingzhen was taken aback. The teacher called very cordially. He keenly caught a slight strangeness. It seems that Yang Qingxian is a little different from the past, and said, "All right, you can try it." Yang Qingxian stretched out his hand and placed it on the martial soul stone. The gentle touch came, and it felt very comfortable. Pump. Someone immediately laughed, looking at that serious look. It seems that there really is a martial arts spirit. Ha ha ha, I'm so ridiculous. Ha ha ha. The students in class 4 sneered and laughed. Today is an eye-opener. The students taught by Qingzhen are really extraordinary. That is, maybe there will be martial arts coming out later. Let's keep our eyes open and watch it carefully, ha ha ha. Zuoheng also sneered, and said sarcastically, "This silly classmate is very humorous." The unabashed contempt in his eyes showed an unparalleled sense of superiority. He deliberately pressed the word classmate extremely heavily, and looked greedily at Wu Qiue's beautiful face. Seeing that she didn't listen to her words at all, but watched Yang Qingshuan's test seriously, she couldn't help but get angry again. Zuoheng thought, "I'm so good, you turned a deaf ear to me. This fool is so trash, you care so much. Humph, in that case, I will give him an unforgettable thing later when this fool is fired." Lesson. As a price for you to ignore me. Suddenly, a student's eyelids jumped and screams across the sky, "Oh my God! Look at it, it's the light of martial soul." Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 6, 10 Dangs and 10 Decisions. The student was closest to the ring and was facing the martial soul stone, so the first one noticed the strangeness and called out in shock. What? There really is martial soul potential? Impossible. This stone caused 1,000 layers of waves, and all the students looked over. Zhuo Heng was also taken aback, but Wu Qiue's body trembled slightly, and her water-like eyes flashed slightly and waved like ripples. Time seemed to stand still, everyone forgot to breathe, and indeed there was light slowly shining on the transparent martial soul stone. Sure enough, it is the light of Wuhuan. Qin Zhen was shocked and horrified. He exclaimed, "Quickly, let's see what quality it is." The martial arts test can show up to 9 soul lights, each of which is a rank, which is the lower, middle, and upper ranks. According to legend, there are more than 10 soul lights of the highest quality. Yang Qingxian was much calmer. When his hand touched the martial soul stone, a very comfortable feeling spread in his heart, and even had the effect of nourishing the soul. At this moment, his main soul returned. Under the fusion, his soul power was far superior to ordinary martial artists, and it was no surprise that the light of martial soul could be born. But at this moment, his left shoulder shrugged slightly, and an indescribable feeling was flowing through the veins in his body. It's the power of that mark. Well, what exactly is that mark is out of control. Yang Qingxuan's eyes were horrified, and he only felt violent power gushing out of the mark, flowing into the martial soul stone along his meridians. Boom! The martial soul stone suddenly exploded and broke into pieces directly. Yang Qingxian only felt that there was a flower in front of him, and the soul light on the martial soul stone seemed to burst 10 times in an instant, and then the light burst and burst. What's going on? Everyone was stunned. The explosion of the martial soul stone was unheard of. Wu Qiue trembled tremendously, and her 10 fingers hidden in her long sleeves trembled slightly. In the depths of her agile black eyes, a large amount of bloodshot condensed into a thin circle, forming a weird array. Wu Qiue was a little anxious in her heart, and she secretly blamed myself. I blamed me for being too careless. At that moment, it seemed that I had gone through 10 soul lights, but it was a pity that I didn't use my blue eyes and couldn't see it. But at the moment when the martial soul stone burst, a thunder suddenly sounded in the sky, and then all kinds of storms gathered, and the thunder burst. A little purple flame flared the sky with anger, igniting the entire sky. The terrifying coercion leaped down into the air, more like 1,000 troops coming in the air, sweeping the world. However, the most shocking thing is that this kind of pressure not only covers Tianzong Academy, but even directly covers the entire Changnan Kingdom. What's going on? What is going on? From around the ring, to the entire academy, and even the entire Changnan Emperor Baishui's city, all fell into a huge panic. All the strong in the city raised their heads and looked at the terrifying sky vision. This is... Wu Qiue hurriedly raised her head, a glazed light flashing across her eyes. In the depths of that pupil, countless tiny blood beads condensed and turned into tens of thousands of chains, forming a formation under the crisscross pattern. On that formation, a huge cyan eye appeared and slowly opened. The huge cyan eyes, with a dark gray luster, looked like a turbulent black sea while staring at them. Under the abnormal flow of light, they are as deep as the universe of the sky, as if to be included in the billions of galaxies and see all things in the world. Wu Kaiyu's finger was hidden in her long sleeves, trying to see through the martial spirit vision with this blue eye, but the moment she stared, it was like a purple thunder and lightning coming through the void, and the huge eye was shattered with a bang. The formation collapsed. Wu Qiue trembled all over. Not only was her blue eyes shattered, but also bursting into her mind. That terrifying force hit the Lingtai sea of consciousness and her internal organs. She lost her 5 senses and 6 senses in an instant, and her whole person became blank. In the vague void of the sea of consciousness, there seemed to be an illusory figure overlooking the earth, coldly saying, "What are you? You dare to peek? This martial soul." Wu Qiue shuddered, as if she had regained some consciousness, and boundless fear came from all directions and penetrated into her soul. At this moment, she realized what a stupid and terrible thing she had done, 2 lines of blood oozing from those autumn eyes. The vision is like a who is king of the earth, her martial soul is humble like an ant, kneeling under the king's rank, shivering. Wu Qiue stood under the ring, her lips pale. Except for fear, there is no consciousness in his mind. It is like a small boat, on the magnificent sea. It can't help but capsize at any time. And the surroundings Hua Heng, Qin Zhen and others, although they did not dare to peek at the martial spirit vision, they were also under great pressure, one by one, they were panicking and running their true essence to resist the terrible pressure. Puff! Puff! There were more than a dozen figures who couldn't hold them anymore, they knelt down on the spot. Hua Heng was full of cold sweat, trembling all over, and finally got a pain in his chest. After a squirt of blood, he knelt down on the spot with a poof, his limbs propped on the ground, trembling like an ant. Immediately afterwards, Yu Liang also turned pale, knelt on his knees, trembling and convulsing on the ground like a goat. The rest of the students all watched this scene in amazement. Although they all have the potential of martial arts, not all of them have awakened the martial arts. Without awakening the martial spirit, he would not even have the qualifications to be pressured. Qin Zhen was also shaking terribly, a large cold sweat rolled off his forehead, his face pale. The iron-boned man looked weak, humble, and helpless like fallen leaves in the wind. Young Qinxian stared at the sky in a daze, feeling a little lost. In the awe-inspiring sky, above the clouds of thick ink, there seemed to be a tall figure, stepping on purple flames, standing between the sky and the earth. At this moment, in a huge secret room in Tian Tsong Academy. Under the gloomy light, a Tenjiang square formation was slowly rotating, exuding radiance. There was an old man sitting in the void, with white beard like snow, and no dust on his navy blue robe. Only those who have reached the original martial state can fly in the air. This old man can sit in emptiness, at least he is also a master of the original martial realm. The old man was entering the concentration training, and suddenly the secret room trembled violently, and the light on the formation also shook. The Juyin in his hand was condensed, and a phantom was about to condense behind him, but it was affected by the force of the vibration, and the phantom was broken at once. Puff! The old man opened his eyes suddenly, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and a look of horror appeared on his face. He stretched out his hands and looked down at his arms, only to see a circle of ripples flowing from the arms to the fingertips, and shaking slightly. Suppression of Wuhuan. The old man spit out 4 characters with difficulty. The world only knows that martial spirits are divided into 4 ranks, extreme, upper, middle, and lower, but they don't know that this is just the division of the short rank. In the level of Wuhuan, there are 4 major levels, Emperor, King, Monarch, and Fan. The old man's martial spirit is a monarch-level existence, not to mention that Sangnan Empire, even the entire northern 5 countries are one of the few outstanding. Now I was suppressed by a breath. The old man set off a stormy sea in his heart, ignoring the healing, hurriedly opened the secret room door and rushed out. The next moment, the wind rose up and flew into the sky of Tian Tsong Academy for thousands of miles. The purple clouds in the sky are furious, and the weather is violent, like patches of purple dragon scales, covering the sky and turning into a purple sea. The horrible coercion spreads with the light, piercing the eyes and shocking the soul. The old man didn't dare to look at it more, restrained his inner shock, hurriedly clasped his fists, bowed respectfully, and said loudly, I don't know which adult came to Beishuishing Tian Tsong Academy, and the Qin will not be far away to welcome him, and he hopes to forgive him. The old man is exactly the dean of Tian Tsong College, and he is not far from the Qin who is called the King of Wuzhong by the northern 5 kingdoms. He stood aside respectfully, not daring to raise his head, just yelled 3 times, but he never got a response. Qin Bulei carefully raised his eyes and saw the purple flames shining brightly, mixed with lightning and thunder. Looking down, you can see that there is a thundercloud like a dragon behind the ink cloud, carrying a dazzling golden glow, seeming to slowly descend. There was a flash of light in his mind, as if thunder and lightning passed through, and suddenly he remembered something, and cried out, 10 dangs and 10 decisions. Thousands of armies Pai. This martial spirit is. This martial spirit is. Suddenly, a huge fear enveloped my heart, and it was difficult to say the following words. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 7, Yi Nian Jin Shan He. After the Wuhuan vision lasted for a while, the depths of the thundercloud suddenly surged, and under the golden light, it looked like a storm spreading from it. I saw the purple clouds disappear with the wind, and after a few breaths, the whole sky finally returned to its original color, and the wind was light again, as if nothing had happened just now. Qing did not leave his face and stood in place, until the vision dissipated, and then he was relieved heavily, but still could not hide the panic in his eyes. The martial spirit coercion just now is indeed from the adult from the Xian void. Back then, when discussing martial arts in the sky, I had a glimpse of it outside the world. A scene emerged in Qing Buli's mind. A gilt and colorful throne floats in the void, exuding supreme majesty. A man sat with a smile, his appearance was extremely beautiful, and he raised his hands and feet, as if he was about to grab the stars and the moon, breaking the sky. Although it is a glimpse, it will never be unforgettable. Qing Buli's face was pale, and she stood dazedly on the sky. Not long after, more than a dozen rays of light flew from the imperial palace of Baishui City, all galloping in. In a flash, he was in front of Qing Buli. The leading man was tall and burly. He was Ho Mingyi, the commander of the Changnan Kingdom's imperial army and the master of the true martial realm. Behind this group of people there is a light wing-like light, which is the symbol of the real martial state, the transformation of the true essence. When a warrior steps into the real martial realm, he can condense his true essence into weapons, armor, wings and other shapes, but it consumes a lot of true essence. Ho Mingyi hurriedly stepped forward, held a fist and said, Master Dean. Qing Buli waved his hand and said, I know your purpose here, but the matter is over. Go back. Ho Mingyi and the others looked at each other, wondering, I don't know what happened just now, and my martial souls have been greatly shaken. If I get nothing, I will return. I can't explain to the emperor. I hope the dean will forgive me. Qing Buli glanced at him lightly, and said, what I say is an explanation. Ho Mingyi was shocked and immediately clasped his fists and said, follow the decree. The dean of the first college of the northern 5 kingdoms, known as the King of Wuzhong, was not weaker than any emperor. Ho Mingyi and others did not dare to defy and immediately bowed back. At this moment, in the Tian Tsong Academy, on the assessment field, everyone was shocked by the vision of heaven and earth just now, and it took a while before they recovered. Qing Zhen trembled fiercely, but after all, he did not kneel down. He was covered with cold sweat and his face was extremely pale. Both Yu Liang and Zhuo Han got up from the ground in embarrassment, slapping the dust on their bodies. In front of hundreds of students, they were overwhelmed by the threats, kneeling on the ground and groaning, their faces were hot. Especially seeing Qin Zhen not kneeling down before, Yu Liang's eyes burst into jealousy. This is the strength gap between the two. Not only did the students he taught were not as good as Qin Zhen, but he was also inferior to the opponent in strength, which made Yu Liang very angry. Zhuo Han glanced at Wu Qiuyue in shame, feeling that his image was damaged. Seeing Wu Qiue's eyes closed and her face pale, she breathed a sigh of relief and thought to herself, maybe she hadn't seen herself kneeling. The other students who had cultivated the spirit of martial arts looked good, but stood up and patted the dust on their bodies without much shame. Among all the martial artists, Wu Qiuyue was the most injured because of forcibly showing her blue eyes and peeping at the martial spirit vision. She secretly wiped away 2 lines of blood and tears. At this moment, her eyes were still bright with blood, and she did not dare to open them for fear of being noticed. However, there were stormy waves in my heart. One thought moves, suppresses mountains and rivers and Qianzangli. This is the one thought of the mountains and rivers, of the strong martial arts soul. Only with the Wui can crush my blue eyes. This momentum is extremely masculine, it can break through all phenomena. Within the 10 most powerful martial arts, only the world has enemies and dominant unparalleled can do it. But, the owners of these 2 great martial arts. Could it be that one of the 2 adults happened to pass by the martial spirit vision just now, and it was not caused by Yang Qingxian? Wu Qiuyue was surprised and suspicious, and all kinds of doubts lingered in her heart. Recalling the terrifying coercion just now, he couldn't help but tremble with his shoulders, and was too scared to hold on. Chiyue, don't be afraid, I am here. Even if it is a landslide and 1,000 troops, it will not hurt you a bit. Zhuo felt her trembling, and hurriedly expressed himself, as if I was protecting you. But as soon as he finished speaking, he felt a lot of strange gazes around him. The dirt on his limbs and knees hadn't been cleaned yet, and he seemed to have forgotten his ugliness just now. Wu Qiuyue opened her eyes, her blood faded, and she glanced at him strangely. Zhuo Henduan was very ashamed and angry, wishing that a hole could be drilled down. He could only stare at those who looked at him with fierce light, so that everyone quickly turned their heads and dared not look anymore. What happened just now? Why does my spirit seem to be crushed? A kneeling student asked with lingering fear. Although it is safe now, he is deeply afraid. The dozen or so students with martial spirits also had a look of fear in their eyes. Wu Huan is overwhelming. Qin Zhen's eyes were also full of horror, and he said in a deep voice, because of the emergence of an overly powerful spirit, all spirits have been suppressed. It's terrible, I can't help but surrender. Who is it that actually possesses such a terrifying martial spirit? Another student trembled. Yu Liang touched the cold sweat on his forehead, looked in a certain direction of the college, and said, "Is it the dean?" It is said that the dean is in retreat, cultivating some powerful magical powers. Yes. It must be the spirit of Master Dean. The eyes of the dozen or so students all brightened, and they said excitedly, Master Dean is a master of the original martial realm known as the King of Wuzhong. Yu Liang nodded and said, in the entire North 5 kingdoms, only the Dean can release such a terrifying martial soul. All the students were extremely excited and talked a lot. It was a great blessing in life to be able to see the Dean's martial arts vision. Zhuo Heng frowned and seemed to agree with this statement. Only Qin Zhen, still frowning, unable to recover for a long time, thought to himself, the Dean's martial arts soul is terrible, but it is far less terrifying. Just a little bit of martial arts thoughts almost defeated him. My martial soul, is that the of martial arts? After a long time, he calmed down and said, this matter will naturally be investigated by the Academy and the royal family. We will continue the assessment. Everyone has seen it just now. Yang Qingxian has the martial spirit quality, although it is only a subgrade of soul light, but it does exist. I declare that Yang Qingxian passed the examination. No one would associate the vision just now with Yang Qingxian. Except for Yang Qingxian himself, he was still looking at the sky with a puzzled expression, looking a little sluggish. This fool, actually passed the test. And also measured the potential of Wu Huan, isn't it dreaming? All the students recovered from the shock just now, and began to look at Yang Qingxian in disbelief. The insufficient fool seemed to have changed a little. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 8, Tiger Roar. Yu Liang just felt that his face was a little unsustainable, and said, the martial soul stone was directly shattered under the influence of martial soul's pressure just now. God knows what happened to that ray of light. Since an accident occurred during the assessment, it is natural to reassess. Yes, it must be reassessed. The students in class 4 all yelled. They came to see Yang Qingxian making a fool of himself. If they passed, it would be too slapped. Qin Zhen lowered his face and said coldly, Teacher Yu Liang, you are too broad-minded. When is it your turn to talk more about my third class? Yu Liang sneered and said, why, you have a guilty conscience. If you don't retest, I will expose you to the academy for cheating in the assessment and favor the students. Suddenly a voice came and coldly snorted, it is too much trouble to retest, Teacher Qin Zhen, there seems to be such a rule in the assessment, the last one can challenge one person at will. If it is successful, then the test results of the two have to be exchanged. The speaker was Zhuo Heng. Qin Zhen's face changed slightly and he seemed to realize something, but the rules did exist, and he said, there is indeed this one. It's easy. Zhuo Heng smiled slightly and pointed at the crowd at random, saying, Zhuo Feng, you will take the last place in the exam later, and then ask this classmate Yang Qingxian for advice. If you ask for advice, your benefits are indispensable. Qin Zhen's face changed drastically and his face was full of anger. Wu Qiuyue also flashed a cold light in her bright eyes, but instantly returned to normal. Yang Qingxuan's performance today has taken her by surprise, and after passing the assessment, the angular face did not show the slightest joy, as if it should have been. This is not the calmness that a 15-year-old can have. Wu Qiyu couldn't help feeling a little shocked in her heart, and she thought to herself, is it because he was pretending to be stupid before? Thinking of this, he suppressed his emotions and let Zhuo Feng test him. Although Zhuo Feng is also from the Zhuo family, his talent and status are far inferior to Zhuo Heng. Upon hearing this, he immediately clasped his fist and said, yes. He is an existence of the 7th level of the Qi martial realm, and possesses the potential of martial arts, and is the best in the 3rd class. The left forward walked straight to the tester and struck out a fist. With a pounce, the ripples didn't evoke, and his face was expressionless. Mr. Qin Zhen, I got 0 points, the last one. Now I want challenge classmate Yang Qingxian. Qin Zhen trembled angrily, staring at him angrily, and said coldly, okay, really a good student I taught. Zhuo Feng was a little frightened by Qin Zhen's angry gaze, but then he thought about it. As long as he condensed his martial spirit and stepped into the spirit martial realm, he could enter the inner courtyard without being under Qin Zhen's jurisdiction. Moreover, offending Zhuo Heng was far more terrifying than offending Qin Zhen. He calmed down, and strode towards Yang Qingxian with a trace of contempt in his eyes, but he still pretended to hold his fist and said, Yang Qingxian, please advise. Yang Qingxian said indifferently, you and I have no grievances, are you trying to embarrass me on purpose? Zhuo Feng smiled and said, you really shouldn't offend Master Heng. You are responsible for the current disaster. No wonder I am. But I will try my best to be merciful when I study with my classmates. Who makes you mentally retarded and not bright in your mind? Ha ha ha. There was a burst of laughter from all around, all sighing, I finally got martial spirit potential, but I offended Zhuo Heng. This is worse than being expelled. I don't know what tricks this fool can do with the left forward. How many moves? Ha, Zhuo Feng is at the 7th level of the Qi martial realm. It is luck for that fool to carry a move. Ha, that said. Yang Qingxian stood there quietly, unmoved by all kinds of ridicule, her eyes flickered, and slowly said, the old saying goes, people are good by others, and Mashan is righted by others. It seems that I was blindly before. Forbearance, to indulge you, make you lose the bottom line, behave and do things, you are all advancing every step. It seems that it is necessary to change the academic atmosphere, improve your moral connotation, and teach you what is 5 stresses, for beauty and 3 warmth. What? You mean, you have always been magnanimous? Ha ha ha, it's a lie, it's ridiculous. Zhuo Feng laughed wildly, his eyes flashed with cruelty, his sleeve robe vigorously agitated, and said, with the potential of martial arts, I don't know that the sky is thicker, right? In the entire class, who has the potential of martial arts not better than you? Today, I will let you recognize this reality. Even if you have the potential of Wuhuan, you are still the bottom of the garbage. Yang Qingxian smiled, her eyes were cold, making people feel chills in their hearts. He said, you call me a fool, call me rubbish, not so much that I am not angry, it is better to say that I am too lazy to care about with you. I am too lazy to care about with you, it does not mean that I will blindly tolerate. Since you touched my bottom line today, then I will kill the chicken once and show this crowded monkey. What, do you dare to treat me as a chicken? I originally wanted to be merciful and beat you to a disability. Now it seems unnecessary, just get rid of you. Zhuo Feng was furious, and his sleeves broke apart with a chill under the eruption of vigor, the whole person suddenly violent, and his fist burst like a mountain like a sea. Earth collapse fist. Boom. Under that punch, the qi gene of the quartet spread out suddenly, as if a wave of qi was steaming, shooting to all sides, but it came surging. What a powerful qi gene. Is this the power of the 7th layer of qi martial realm? Zhuo Feng is really angry. He is the most violent way of the sun. With this intermediate martial skill, the collapse of the fist is enough to show the strength of the 8th level of Qi Wu. I can't stop it. Dadi Benquan is the highest state of Benquan. With Zhuo Feng's strength, when there are 9 levels of Qi Wu, even the power of Dzogchen, he really wants to abolish this fool. Oh, let it go. Who made this fool so arrogant? How dare you say that we are all monkeys and wait to see him die? All kinds of exclamation and ridicule came along with the storm. Yang Qingxian didn't realize it, his robe was blowing and hunting, surging in front of him like running water. The strong in this world are respected, and only strength is the only way to be respected. Be kind to others, they will treat you as cowardly, timid, and even more unscrupulously bullying you and stepping on you. Therefore, what he has to do at the moment is to blow up all the feet that are stepping on him. There was a crack noise between Yang Qingshuan's finger bones, and the whole momentum spread out, and a little bit under his feet turned into a breeze and fisted. So fast. Everyone was taken aback by his aura, and then he was stunned by the speed of the wind. Zhuo Feng's collapsed fist is the most fierce martial skill. It concentrates all the power on the tip of the fist and bursts open, enough to break the mountain and crack the rock. No. He actually ran into it. An exclamation sounded. Qin Zhen and Wu Qiue's expressions also changed drastically. Zhuo Heng knocked on the palms of the palms with a folding fan, and laughed, "A fool is a fool," and Zhuo Feng's collapsed fist has reached the Qi martial realm great perfection. This Yang Qingxian is useless. Suddenly, a tiger roared violently, shaking the air. Before everyone could react, another dragon roar rushed into the sky. Yang Qingshuan's icy voice sounded on the ring, but it was clearly heard in everyone's ears: tiger roar and dragon yin sword qi and smoke. Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 9, Jian Qi, by Yan Heng. Tiger roar and longyin sword qi and blue smoke. Boom! Yang Qingshuan's whole body rolled up heavy waves of air, like a huge sponge in the ocean, turned into a dragon fighting tigers, and rose in anger, completely Grandmaster style. This style of martial arts originated from two illusions in the past of China. At that time, the Tubo national master Kamatzi went to the Tianlong temple in Dali to ask for the six medical sword, and in the room, he used the martial arts of the flaming knife to fight the six medical sword in sword array, so that the sword could shoot the bull. Duan Yu was surrounded by blue smoke, comprehending the meaning of the sword. The second is the hero Qiao Feng, who used a set of Taizu Changquan to save Azu from entering Juxianzhuang alone, defeating the heroes of the world. Yang Qingxian was fascinated by the prosperity of martial arts in the past, and under painstaking research and speculation, he merged the Taizu Changquan, boxing intent, flame knife, palm strength, and six medical sword intent into one, creating this recruit, tiger roar and long yin sword qi and blue smoke. Yang Qingshuan's martial arts level is indeed nothing in the Xuanya continent, but that kind of understanding of martial arts and Dao heart crushes all students. This move is his strongest blow that combines fist, palm, and finger. How can the left forward stop it? Just under the tiger's roar and dragon's roar, Zhuo Feng's expression suddenly turned miserable, and extreme fear appeared in his pupils. He opened his mouth wide and wanted to call for help, but the waves of air turned into dragons and tigers to fight each other, pressing his internal organs to shrink, making no sound at all. Boom! Zhuo Feng's collapsed fist instantly disintegrated, and the whole person exploded and flew away, and the bluestone bricks under his feet suddenly shattered, continuously dispersing like a spider web. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Zhuo Feng burst into blood all over his body, and fell heavily on the edge of the ring. After shattering the bluestone bricks, he was unable to slide down, dragging out a shocking bloodstain that was more than 10 meters long. Seeing Zhuo Feng fell off the ring, the students underneath the ring shouted, "Wow," a few times, and then dispersed. All of them were completely frightened. The left forward fell heavily to the ground again, shaking up the dust. Above that terrible bloodstain, countless fragments of robes danced with vigor, like snowflakes in the sky, mourning the losers. The audience was silent for an instant, and a needle could be heard quietly. With 7 levels of Qi martial realm and 10 levels of strength displayed, this left forward is also a leader in the 3rd class. Moreover, even an ordinary 10-layer Qi martial realm powerhouse would have to spend some time dealing with that move of the earth collapse fist, but Yang Qingxian broke it with one move. On the other hand, Zhuo Feng's miserable situation at the moment, I am afraid it has been abandoned. This fool, when is it so powerful? Could it be true that what he said before is true, and he has always endured us? The students in class 3 turned pale with fright, especially those who had bullied Yang Qingxian. Their teeth trembled involuntarily, shivering like chaff. Qin Zhen's face was full of horror, and his heart shook wildly. Jiwu realm great perfection. His eyes fell on Zuofeng, who seemed immortal and abolished. Although he was his own student, the left forward was responsible for everything. Qin Zhen glanced at Yu Liang and said coldly, "Teacher Yu Liang, Yang Qingxuan's move just now, the students in your class can observe clearly. Can they recognize the gap between them? You will have to work harder after returning. Cultivation is snapped." Yu Liang only felt that his face was slapped, hot, and immediately embarrassed, staring at Qin Zhen with resentment, speechless. Qin Zhen sneered, "Should students from class 4 come up and discuss with our students? I think you are all very interested just now. You can't be beaten in the face, and go back in defeat, right?" The students in the 4 classes all had fright in their eyes, and all bowed their heads for fear that the teacher would really let themselves go on stage. Many students stepped back involuntarily. What a joke! Yang Qingxuan's attack just now had at least the power of the spirit martial realm. Although there are several awakened martial spirits in the class, they have all suffered certain injuries under the previous martial spirit suppression, and they dare not challenge Yang Qingxian. Humph! Yu Liang felt faceless and stayed any longer. With a flick of his long sleeves, he stomped his feet fiercely, and then took the students from his class and walked away dingy. "Ha ha, get out!" Students from class 3 raised their eyebrows, whistled collectively, and sent off to class 4 to sneak away with their tails in between. But when he looked at the young man, he couldn't hide his fear. Yang Qingxian said indifferently, "Classmates, who else wants to be a native chicken? Come up together and I will fulfill him." Sweeping his gaze down the stage, all the students were shocked. No one dared to look at him and all bowed their heads. Only Zuoheng's eyes were like poisonous snakes, staring at him stubbornly, and he thought angrily, "This kid beat Zuo forward like this. Obviously he slapped me directly under the public, not only didn't he put me in the eyes, not to mention Zhuo Jia." He glanced at Wu Qiuyue secretly again, but saw that Wu Qiuyue was so energetic, and Yang Qingxian was majestic on the stage again, and his demeanor was so flamboyant that he couldn't help being burned with jealousy and murderous. Bold! Dare to hurt the people of my left family, and look for death. Zuoheng suddenly violent without warning, his figure appeared on the ring as soon as he flashed, a strong wind turned into a palm, and he patted Yang Qingxian. Zuoheng has been in the top position for a long time. Although he seems to be personable, he is narrow-minded. He has long regarded Wu Qiuyue as his impunity. On weekdays, other boys will be beaten by one of them. What's more, today, Yang Qingxian has made the limelight in front of Wu Qiuyue and has been on his mortal list. Stop! When Wu Qiuyue discovered it, it was too late, and she exclaimed in anger. Yang Qingxuan is very keen, and he has been on guard early in the morning. When the strong wind hits, he secretly said, "So strong." Under that palm, a faint light appeared, as if a mountain was compressed by the air, and the air was compressed and made a harsh whistle. At this moment, Yang Qingxian understood that the young man in front of him was the strongest enemy he had encountered in his life. But he did not panic. Although Zuoheng's power was above him, if the power in the mark was released, it would be enough to kill the opponent. Without being frightened, he raised his right hand to gather his finger strength, and circles of light red light gathered at the fingertips. Suddenly a figure rushed past it, and it was Qin Zhen who actually took the shot. "The body is like a dragon, and the breath is like a dragon," Qin Zhen pointed out with his fingers together, and the sound of breaking through the air came from his fingertips, extremely sharp. Zuoheng's face sank, and a trace of panic flashed under his eyes. His finger strength was designed to break his palm, and his cultivation was not as good as Qin Zhen. Panicked, it was too late to take the palms, so I could only bite the bullet and add a few more points, and force the past. Boom! Fingers and palms intersected, burst of energy, and the two shook apart. Qin Zhen's body turned around in the air, and gently fell back to Yang Qingxuan's side. On the other hand, Zhuoheng is a three-step retreat of dang dang dang, and the judgment is made. Qin Zhen. Do you dare to shoot at me? Zhuoheng lost face in front of Wu Qiyu, became angry, and roared. Without changing his face, Qin Zhen glanced at him coldly, and said, "Why, you represent the Zhuo family, and I represent the Tianzong Academy. Could it be that the Zhuo family is looking for the academy to settle accounts, or is it to fight the academy?" After speaking, he glanced at Yang Qingshuan's fingertips intentionally or unintentionally, feeling slightly surprised in his heart. Zhuoheng's palm is extremely domineering, and only can be used to break the face. This is the most ingenious method when the cultivation base is not as good as the opponent. It's just that someone who can see through this must have a very high martial intent. How did Yang Qingxian know? Is he just an unintentional act? Heavenly God Mnemonic Chapter 10, I will definitely go. Zhuoheng's face was hard to look at, and the hand pulling the sword behind him stopped immediately. He understood the seriousness of this sentence and cleverly closed his mouth. Although the Zhuo family has a prominent position, it is only in the territory of Cangnan. Tianzong Academy is the #1 university in the North Five Kingdoms, and the Dean Qin Buli is a master of the original martial arts known as the King of Wuzhong. Even the royal family of the Cangnan Kingdom dare not provoke the academy. Qin Zhen coldly snorted, "You should have been severely punished for disrupting the evaluation order. But I am in a good mood today. Go away." Zhuoheng's face turned purple, but he was helpless. Qin Zhen is a teacher at Tianzong College, and family forces can't suppress him, and he can't beat him. I can only transfer the hatred to Yang Qingxian, pointing at Yang Qingxian and gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, you are lucky today, and you dare to hurt my people from the left family. I see if Qin Zhen can protect you for the rest of your life." Yang Qingxian flicked the dust on his left shoulder, and said calmly, "I don't know who was lucky." Although he said lightly in his mouth, he was wary of this in his heart. The moment Zhuoheng's right hand touched the sword behind him, Yang Qingxian instinctively felt tremendous pressure, as if the other party had instantly transformed into a sword, giving him an extremely aggressive and domineering feeling. He even felt Qin Zhen's nervousness and seemed a little afraid of the sword. After Zhuoheng released the sword, Qin Zhen was obviously relieved. "You." Zhuoheng was hit by Yang Qingxian, and he was going crazy, but he had nowhere to vent. He felt that he was going to be angry again, and he was going to go crazy. Suddenly, a scent hits, and several people seem to be bathed in spring breeze, refreshed. Seeing the shadows flashing, Wu Qiyu also jumped onto the ring and appeared in front of Yang Qingxian, her clear lotus eyes staring at her with a complicated smile. "Qiyu." Zhuoheng was shocked, such a gentle smile, only seen when she peeped at her playing the piano. His heart twitched violently, and he was sure that Wu Qiyu had never been so pleasant to other men. The monstrous killing intent immediately filled Zhuoheng's brain, his eyes turned red, and there was only one word in his mind: kill, kill, kill. But Wu Qiyu didn't see all of this. Instead, she looked at Yang Qingxian with her beautiful eyes as clear as water with a smile, and said, "I'm waiting for you in the inner courtyard." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was in an uproar, and the audience exploded. What is going on? Even if it's silly, oh, no. Even if the classmate passes the exam, he is just an ordinary student. A student in the audience screamed in dissatisfaction, almost uttered the word idiot, and slapped him anxiously before he corrected it. Is Wu Qiyu interesting to him? It's impossible, I don't believe it. On the face value, I'm overwhelming him. On the quality of Wu Huan, he is only a low grade, and I am a middle grade. Why? Why? Zhuoheng's eyes were full of haze, staring at Yang Qingxian like a viper. He was unwilling to reconcile and did not understand. Yang Qingxian also didn't understand. Logically speaking, it is impossible for the top beauty in the academy to see herself. Moreover, based on his great master's intuition, Wu Qiyue's strength would never be as harmless as her face, it must be extremely terrifying. Inner courtyard? The memory in my mind surged. The inner courtyard is the gathering place for all the elite students of Tianzong Academy. There will be a strict assessment every year, and only those who pass can enter the cultivation. But all the students who came out of the inner courtyard were all appointed to be the leaders of the empire. Most of the martial arts masters of the Tsangnan kingdom came from the inner courtyard, so the inner courtyard is also a huge circle of contacts and influence, and it is a place where all students yearn. Yang Qingxuan's previous goal was only to become a warrior. He had never thought of being able to enter the inner court, but it was completely different at this moment. He already had the qualifications to attack the inner court. Okay, I will definitely go. Yang Qingxuan's eyes flickered and said calmly. Zhuo Heng pointed his finger at him and said, if you dare to come to the inner courtyard, I will kill you myself. Yang Qingxian just glanced at him and sneered, what are you? Zhuo Heng was extremely angry. In the entire Tian Tsong Academy, no one had ever dared to speak to him like this. What's more, just a little-known kid, if he were outside the academy, or without Qin Zhen's protection, he would have been chopped to death by him. The next thing made his anger rush to the extreme. I saw Wu Qiyu stepping in front of Yang Qingxian, staring at him coldly, and said, what do you want to do? Qin Zhen was also taken aback. He hurriedly stood behind Yang Qingxian with a cyclone flowing between his hands to prevent Zhuo Heng from suddenly violent and wounding. With Wu Qiyu and Qin Zhen protecting Yang Qingxian, Zhuo Heng knew that he would never get a bargain, so he hated to say, okay. I will let this fool live a few more days. Wu Qiyue's face was cold, and Yang Qingxuan's identity was very special, and he could not be hurt by others. But after another thought, he was afraid of further stimulating Zhuo Heng, and said, you can deal with him, but he is only in the Qi martial realm now. Even if you win, you won't be able to win. There was a flash of light in her eyes, and she stretched out a finger, saying, 1 year, give him 1 year. You can challenge him in 1 year. Zhuo Heng shot a murderous look in his eyes and said, is this what you said? Wu Qiyu said, nature. Seeing her full of confidence, Zhuo Heng said furiously, okay, I promise you. Let him live for another year. If he is defeated, it will be life or death. You must not intervene. Wu Qiyu nodded and said, okay, I follow your words. Although Zhuo Heng was still congested with chest tightness, he was relieved a lot after hearing the words. It's just that there are many doubts in the heart. Who is this fool and what does it have to do with Wu Qiyu? He was certain that Wu Qiyu had never contacted this person before. Yang Qingxian also has many doubts, but all of this can only be suppressed in his heart, waiting to be solved slowly. After Wu Qiyu finished speaking, she went away calmly as she came. Zhuo Heng still followed behind, but his calmness was completely gone, his face was gloomy as water, and he didn't know what he was calculating. This episode was too horrified, and everyone's eyes fell on Yang Qingxian, as if they had never known this person. After watching Wu Qiyu and Zhuo Heng go away, Qin Zhen closed his gaze back and said, Yang Qingxian, what you did just now. Yang Qingxuan's thoughts turned, but he didn't know how to answer, but he heard Qin Zhen say to himself, it seems that you have not only recovered your mind, but you have also improved your cultivation. You should have reached the realm of Qiwu realm great perfection, right? Although the students around had guessed it, they were still shocked when Qin Zhen said it. After the Qiwu is complete, the next step is to condense the martial arts, step into the spirit martial realm, and become a real martial artist. Lingwu realm cultivation base is basically a standard requirement for entering the inner courtyard. Although there have been anti-sky existences in the Qi martial realm that entered the inner courtyard, after all, phoenix and feathers are rare and extremely rare. In the entire assessment field, the needle was quietly heard, and many students showed worried and perturbed expressions. In the past 3 years, they have bullied Yang Qingxian. Qin Zhen took out a booklet, handed it to Yang Qingxian, and said, there are some interpretations of my condensed martial arts soul, you can take it and see. You just offended Zhuo Heng, I am afraid it will be a bit troublesome. But you can rest assured, as long as if you are still a student for 1 day, I will cover you for 1 day. With me, Zhuo Heng dare not do anything to you. There was warmth in Yang Qingxuan's heart, and he clasped his fist and said, thank you, teacher. Then, under everyone's uncertain eyes, he went away. After passing the assessment, he wants to go home as soon as possible and tell Grandpa the good news. Come back home.